A brand new CNN poll released just moments ago shows there are some warning signs for the administration. When asked how Trump's economic policies have affected the U.S. economic conditions, 59% of the American public says they have worsened conditions. 27% say they have improved conditions. 14% say they've had no effect. CNN's Elena Treen is live for us outside the White House. Elena?
Well, Jake, look, I mean, these are pretty dismal numbers for the president, particularly on an issue that he had once promised would be, ushering the new golden age, particularly this economic revolution that hadn't been seen before. We are learning now that Americans are very much unhappy with the economy overall. They are worried about inflation, about prices at the pump, with grocery prices, but also the president's tariff policy. And that's really, I think, one of the key questions that we're still trying to figure out is what exactly or when exactly are we going to see these trade deals that they've promised come into fruition. Now, tomorrow morning, we're going to hear from Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. He's really been the one leading a lot of the messaging on this tariff policy. And one of the things he said today is that he believes that there could be a deal soon when it comes to a tariff trade deal with India. He said that could come as early as this week, if not next week. But again, what we are hearing from this administration is not really doing enough to quell the concerns of many of these Americans. Just for one example, 6 in 10 Americans are saying that the president's policies have increased the cost of living in their communities. Only 12% say his agenda is helping bring prices down. Now, one of the most striking things I think about this term that is so different from his first term is that the president has said this publicly, but I know he's saying it behind closed doors in my conversations with White House officials, that he's willing to have there be some short-term pain, that they are willing to have Americans, go through this for now, because he genuinely believes that overall in the long run that they are going to have see this economic policy kind of even out the economy. But again, we're 100 days in now and we haven't really seen that from this White House. And one of the other things as well that I'm picking up on is in my conversations with top Trump administration officials, they are arguing that they also recognize they have a very short time frame for how they want to and when they want to push these policies through. They recognize that after this 100 days, some of the leeway that the president was granted may not continue to kind of survive, particularly when you think about Republicans on Capitol Hill and those worried about the midterm elections. But they also recognize they have a race to the midterms, and the economy is going to be one of the key issues that they really need to sort out by them. All of this kind of weighing on this 100 days.
All right,
Jake?
Elena Treen at the White House for us. Thanks so much. Let's take an economic reality check and turn to CNN's Vanessa Yurkevich. Vanessa, President Trump's approval on the economy is not in a good place. How is the actual economy doing away from the polls?
Well, if we look at the data, the economy is actually in a solid position. Just look at inflation. Inflation in March came in at 2.4%. That is a significant difference from what we saw last year in March. It was at 3.5%. But of course, this sort of last drag to get inflation down to 2% has been very daunting for the Federal Reserve. And that is why people feel like prices are just still too high. But let's look at prices at the gas pump. Today, the price of gas was $3.14 a gallon, is $3.14 a gallon, compared to last year, down more than 50 cents. And let's look at jobs, where the labor market is right now. 228,000 jobs were added in March. If you look at that over the last year on that bar chart there, you can see that that is above average, Jake. But the big but here is that all of this data is backwards looking at March. So while we were on solid footing in March, April's data could look different because, of course, Jake, that is when the president imposed those higher tariffs.
You just heard of the polling. 59% of the American people in CNN's poll say Trump's policies have made the economy worse. Why do you think they think that?
Well, let's look at consumer confidence and consumer sentiment. These are two key indicators that sort of also take a temperature of how people are feeling. Consumer confidence fell by 7.2 points. That's looking at March. And essentially, this report said that consumers' expectations were especially gloomy with pessimism about future business conditions deepening and confidence about future employment prospects falling to a 12-year low. Also, let's look at consumer sentiment, which picked up April's trends about how people were feeling. Consumer sentiment fell by 8.4%. But again, about the future mostly, year-ahead inflation expectations surged from 5% last month to 6.5% this month. That was the highest reading since 1981 and marking 4 consecutive months of unusually large increases of 0.5 percentage points or more. So people in these reports indicating that they are very nervous about the future. And of course, how you feel right now can also determine how you feel about the future, Jake.
And speaking of that, consumers have been bracing for the impact of these tariffs. Economists predicting higher prices, emptier shelves. When can we actually expect to see the impact of the tariffs?
Well, when a cargo ship leaves China, if they're leaving today, for example, it'll take about 3 to 6 weeks, depending on which port it's going into, the Port of Los Angeles or the Port of New York, for that cargo to reach the U.S. And then from there, businesses will have to decide, are they going to pass those prices down to the consumer? The Port of Los Angeles sees the most cargo coming in from China. And here's what the port director said as he was giving an update on where things stand. He said, "We also see the inventory on shelves in procurement facilities will shrink. Many major retailers have told us they have about 6 to 8 weeks of supply inventory in their systems now, and it will quickly dry up. United States manufacturers and consumers alike will find difficult decisions in the weeks and months to come if policies don't change." So I think what's interesting about all of this, Jake, is people feeling pretty terrible about the economy right now. But Jake, ultimately, the worst is to come on these price hikes, Jake.
Yeah, that's the old Sinatra song, "The worst is yet to come."
Yeah.
Right? Vanessa
got it.
Yurkevich, thanks so much. Let's turn to the panel, discuss this and more. Shermichael, let's start with this polling, because when you know President Trump's on Truth Social attacking Fox News polling, then you know it's not good. The economy is a major reason Trump is back in the White House. It might even be the main reason. Take a look at this shift in just 1 month. In March, 40% approved of Trump on the economy, 56% disapproved. A month later, 61% disapprove, only 39% approve. Do I have that right? Approve that right? Anyway, so the numbers are going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
What do they need to do to fix it?
The president's numbers have obviously slid backwards. I'm certainly certain that he's aware of it. The political shop in the White House, they're also aware, and I think it's why the White House is working really diligently to bring home and move forward with various deals with countries across the globe as it pertains to tariffs. The president just announced a couple of days ago that he's really hopeful that China will come to the table with some type of agreement as it pertains to protecting intellectual property, which I think would be a big win for the administration. It's also fascinating when you look at some of the polls, because the Washington Post ABC poll suggested that while the president's numbers have receded a little bit, the American people writ large, for the most part, still trust the president more to manage the affairs of the country than they do Democrats. And I think that's a very important number to take a look at. Also, the New York Times poll, I looked through the data there. I'm a bit skeptical. Only 34% of respondents, I believe, were Republicans who actually voted for the president. Not to get into the weeds from the viewer's perspective, but that stuff really matters as a strategist when I'm analyzing data, trying to figure out the accuracy of said data and if it's truly representative of what most Americans feel. So overall, Jake, I would say focus on the economy, try to get some of those deals done as quickly as you possibly can. The American people, I believe, are willing to give the president an opportunity.
Sochi, The Atlantic just published a wide-ranging interview with President Trump. I want to share the part that focuses on the economy. Quote, Trump pushed back on the notion, popular among some Wall Street analysts, that financial turmoil would cause him to roll back his tariff policies. And then President Trump says, "It always affects you a little bit," he said, "but there's no red line, no, quote, certain number at which he would feel compelled to change course."
Well, I already see the White House scrambling internally, figuring out how to change course, because they obviously see the poll numbers. It's not just CNN, but it's across the board. The American people are not happy with what he is doing. I think that the White House early on started talking about Americans are going to feel the short-term pain. You've heard it from the White House over the last 100 days. The reality, though, is that the American people are not okay with that short-term gain. Jake, you're right. One of the reasons, and the largest reason, that Trump won is because he said he could bring down prices. And Americans are desperate for the president to bring down prices, and this is why Democrats lost. And I think that while you were mentioning polling about how people are trusting Republicans over Democrats right now, the reality is Republicans control everything at the moment. And so, they are going to get blamed if they are not bringing down prices. And I think that he has to change course more aggressively and showing the American people that he's doing more to bring down prices if they're going to win in the midterm elections.
But the economy has shown itself to be very resolute and strong. We continue to create more jobs. Unemployment numbers are still particularly low. I mean, look at unemployment numbers for communities of color, pretty low. Unemployment numbers for younger Americans, incredibly low. And so if we can just get through this moment, which I believe the administration, Jake, is really, really focused on, but I think for the most part, Sochi, we will see a recovery. We won't get to the point, I believe, 6 to 8 weeks where that director of the port was saying we only have so much time before companies say we're running out of products. I think we can avoid that.